is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Justified, Season 5, Episode 3, Good Intentions. In this episode, Mara has Mooney by the balls, and it is really, really satisfying. Welcome to Unspoiled.
On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off with no son. I'm fighting for my soul, God, get at you, boy. You try to vote on, fall back, I go hard. On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off with no son.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to the show, my lovelies, my delights, my darlings. I'm Natasha.
And I'm a little creeped out.
What do you mean? Alan, my darling. Yeah, I was like really torn on how to intro this episode because there are so many things happening that are very interesting. All of them are, that I kind of had got pulled in a few different directions, but in the end I decided that grabbing the harasser who objectified you by his balls is probably my favorite. So, yeah, good for you, girl. I'm worried that's going to totally backfire on her because I think she's 100% right about he's only loyal as long as you have the gun. But we'll see how that goes because she's clearly a woman who has seen some shit. Like, she's not dumb. So,
yeah,
I think she's got her finger on the pulse here.
I think you make a reasonable assumption, and yeah, I think she's no dummy. So we will have to see, but a lot happening in this episode. I was trying to remember exactly what it was this episode was about, and I couldn't quite recall, and that turns out it's because it's about 6 different things.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of concerned, honestly. Like, not concerned, that's the wrong word, but the previous episode, bouncing way away from the plots that got set up in the first episode, I was sort of thinking, are we going to do that again this week? And to a bit of a degree we do, but it's certainly not taking center stage. It's not the main event. Everything else, right. It's just circumstantial to all of the other main plot threads that are happening. And I really was glad to see the return of some of these storylines here, because they left so many things wide open at the end of the first episode that I was like, but wait. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so I like this one. And I'm just like, I love Wynn Duffy so much. And every time he's on the screen, I just want to grab his face. If he were at a con, I would absolutely stand in line and meet him and just be like, Duffy! He's like the Michael Ehrmantraut of this show. I'm pretty sure I've said that before, but he really is.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. He is not interested in being center stage, but anytime he is on screen, the scene is instantly better.
Mm-hmm.
So, since we do have a lot to cover, do you want to just dive into this from the top?
Well, actually, I wanted to make a quick announcement first, because I tend to make my announcements at the end of the episode, but nobody listens to those, you guys. So I'm going to make them at the beginning so that people actually hear it. So, as you all know, my main and only source of income is the show and Patreon. And I have plateaued for a few months now, and have come very close to meeting goals on Patreon that I had set, and then lost enough patrons or people dropped their pledges enough that I immediately backed up from the goal. And that keeps happening, going up and down and up and down. So I've realized that I have to do something to change up my what is it? Method of operation? What do they call that? Mod?
Your modus operandi?
MO, yeah. Modus operandi, that's the one. I have to change my MO. And when I have put it out there asking listeners and friends, hey, what do you guys think I should do to get more listeners? Literally everybody on planet Earth is like, cover shows I'm actually fucking watching. Which, I guess, guys, God, if you want relevant relevant podcast to your life and you're going to be demanding about it. But that's the main thing. Like, everybody's watching Westworld. Everybody's watching Legion. Everybody's going to be watching American Gods. These are the shows that people know I would like and know that I would be interesting to hear talking about it. Did that sentence work?
Close enough.
So I get a lot of people requesting them, but the way that Unspoiled has functioned mostly has been, I am going to have somebody who's seen it all and one person who hasn't. And that only works with the shows that have completed already. And the problem with that is that once you finish on shows that have huge feral fan bases that are just looking for anything and everything to consume, and then you're left with other shows that have people who are like, oh yeah, that was a good show, but don't really go out looking for new material on it, you don't get the same push in terms of listeners, in terms of reviews, all of the things that actually make money. So I am going to change it up and start having shows that are currently airing, which is a risk for me because there have been more than 3 shows in the past that I've quit because they started to get terrible. We had Game of Thrones. I said I was going to quit, but I didn't, which I'm glad because it picked its ass back up a little bit. But I did quit Empire. I did quit Scandal. I did quit The Walking Dead, which I am so proud for quitting because good God. And I have been more than just the difficulty of covering something that's currently airing. I have just been afraid because I am a little bit compulsive about completion and I don't like to quit things. I really want to see them through to the end, even if I'm not a huge fan. And so quitting things has been kind of a bummer for me. Like, whenever I see the Scandal logo, I get a little bit twitchy because it bothers me that I dropped it. Like, I don't regret dropping it, but I just don't, So Krista, who is a co-host of the Lost and Band of Brothers shows, she suggested that I have something that I think she coined the jump the shark vote, which is that if a show reaches a point where I'm seriously considering quitting, I put it to a vote and see if the listeners want me to tough it out or if they're interested in hearing me hate on it, or if they think that the show is going to come back around and fix itself, which I think is a really good idea because I trust my listeners. Like, if they say that I should tough something out, I mostly trust the judge. Like, for example, when I quit Walking Dead, like, I don't think more than one person raised a peep. Everybody was pretty much like, yeah, this is nonsense. So I think that we would probably be in agreement if that came to the point, and I just have to kind of get over my obsessiveness about completing things. So that's all a very long-winded way of saying I'm going to, after Penny Dreadful is over, which is 10, I have 11 episodes left to cover of that show. The Leftovers are back on the air, and Rashawn is watching them. So we're going to finish The Leftovers after Penny Dreadful, last season of that. After that, Rashawn and I are going to cover Westworld together.
Awesome.
And during the day, I'm going to be recording Legion with Maggie, who has a big background in comics, so that'll be great. Nice. And I was a little worried because Maggie already records with me twice a week, and I was like, is this going to be too much? And I was like, how would you feel about recording Legion? And I'm like, barely get it out. And she's like, yes. I'm like, okay, all right, cool. I guess that's fine. So those are going to be the new things, and I am looking at covering American Gods. I would love to. It's just really timing because also we have Game of Thrones coming back. And luckily the timing for that works out too. I will have plenty of time to cover Leftovers and Westworld, and then Game of Thrones comes back. So there will be time slots opening up. So it's actually, right now, it looks great for me. Like, the timing works out really well. What I'm concerned about is next year when everything comes back on the air at the same fucking time. But we will deal with that when we have to. So, guys, if you have been like thinking about becoming a patron and been kind of holding back because you weren't sure, please please consider doing it. It's patreon.com/unspoiled. And I can only keep on doing this for so long before it's unsustainable for me. And I have been teetering on the edge of like, maybe I'm going to be okay, because I have been right near where if I just made a little bit more, I would probably be able to make it. But as I said, it keeps dropping just enough. And it's been 2 months in a row now that it's gone down. And that's the first time it's ever happened. So I'm broke enough that a few months going down, that's significant. It's a lot for me to lose. And I don't have anything like a savings or a buffer or a safety net of any kind other than Owen, really. And frankly, him having to catch my ass a few times has depleted his resources a little bit, shall we say. So I really, really want to make this happen. And although it's going to be a bit of a departure from the Unspoiled brand that I have set up so far, I think it'll be a good move. And I think it'll be, I think it's just going to open up doors for people who are looking for somebody to continue giving them media regarding this series that they were maybe obsessed with while it was airing and couldn't quite get enough of, and now it's gone. And that's the idea behind Unspoiled in the first place, except I had planned that to be for completed things. And that's still, it's like, it's the same spirit of it. It's just for something that's still ongoing. So hopefully that'll work out. But you can pledge whatever you think is fair. But I put a ton of work into this stuff. Like, it is more than a full-time job. I'm recording 6 days a week, and 2 of those days I record twice a day. Coming up, it will be 3 days a week I record twice a day. So it is no joke. And if I'm not able to like really start picking up a little bit on what I'm making, I know I've said this before, but I have had to take on some extra debt because of medical expenses recently. And it really is reaching a point where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have to like seriously cut back on the shows I'm doing and start finding another job, because I cannot keep hoping for donations to like, appear in my PayPal to save me. And that's kind of how it's been this past year, is like I'm reaching the end of the month and scrambling, and somebody has swooped in and helped me. And while that's super amazing and generous and kind and wonderful, I cannot constantly be hoping for a miracle. Like, that's just not a way to live. You need to be able to plan things and be responsible and put some away for a rainy day. And I would really like to be able to, to keep doing what I love to do and not have to be exhausted, because I also did a 30-hour shift that week at Starbucks. So that's the deal. That was a long monologue. Sorry, Alan, that you just had to sit there and like listen to me, but there it is.
No, that is okay. I was happy to let you, totally take stage. This is an important evolution in Unspoiled. So
yeah, it is.
I think it's important. You engage with your listeners a lot, and I think I think the bulk of them are invested in you doing this and doing it well. And when you make changes, you don't just want to make changes. You also want to make sure they understand why changes are happening. Mm-hmm. And I know nothing you said is meant in a way to shame anybody who dropped their pledge or anything like that. But
definitely
not. This is the situation. And honestly, it's not a bad thing. People are psyched about Legion. Mm-hmm. People are, going crazy over Westworld. I certainly did. There's a lot of good that can come from this. So I think it's cool. And I think that I'm glad you did get to say that at the top of the show instead of the very end, because, I think it's an important thing for people to hear. And I think it gives people a reason to get motivated about donating and to get them excited about what's going to be coming down the pike. So
I think that's a good point. And I want to, like you said, be clear that, guys, if you have to drop your pledge or anything for any reason, please don't feel bad, because I know how that is. I have like 4 shows that are on my Patreon wish list that once I start making enough money, I want to pledge them. but I can't. I just physically cannot afford to do that. And I know how that is. And that's kind of what's amazing about my listeners, is that a lot of the people who pledge are people who like aren't making that much more than me. And yet they're still so generous that they're giving me their money every month for something that they could technically get free. So it's always a little humbling to be like, yeah, we're all like really there for each other, aren't we? So yeah, I have people all the time that message me explaining, I'm really sorry, but I had to cancel, or whatever. And I've had people who are like, I'm really sorry, but I lost my house and don't have anywhere to live right now, so I have to drop my pledge. And I'm like, holy shit, I am really not the person that you need to worry about. Go get shit taken care of. It's totally fine. But I understand the guilt around that, because when you're somebody who doesn't make that much money and often is like, living paycheck to paycheck, you have more compassion for somebody else who is dealing with the same issues that you are. And so you feel the need to justify yourself to somebody, even though it's really not necessary. So yeah, this is not about like, guys, you're not giving me enough money, up your pledge or get your pledge back in place. It's about reaching out to new people, because I think I've done what I can with the audience that I have attracted so far. And what's left now is finding a new audience. And that is going to be people who are in pop culture currently and not still really looking for something that's been kind of chewed over probably by a lot of podcasts at this point. So yeah, and if you guys can't pledge, just share the show, talk to people about it. Like, share blog posts and share posts on Facebook, or, leave reviews on iTunes. Like, reviews are an enormous help. It doesn't even matter if it's a good review or not. Like, I don't know if y'all know that, but if you leave a shitty review, it doesn't matter. iTunes still calculates how far up a list a show will appear after a search, simply by the number of reviews it has, not by the number of stars it has. So, which really does explain why so many terrible podcasts are so popular, because that has been a little bit baffling to me at times. There have been a few podcasts that I'm like, how though? I do such better work than these idiots, and how are they so popular? And it's like, well, they got a lot of really bad reviews and that helped them somehow. So yeah, if you can't afford to become a patron, if you can't afford to donate, go shop on Amazon, on UnspoiledPodcast.com/Amazon, or go ahead and leave a review. And, shopping you're going to do anyway, and leaving a review is free. And lastly, I almost forgot to mention this part, I'm going to start putting ads on. I haven't determined exactly how I'm going to approach that at first, because there are different methods. You can monetize it via Spreaker and have them automatically insert ads into your shows. And that would be something that I don't have control over really, when they appear in the episode or what they are about. Or you can put ads in naturally as part of like the conversation, which is what most podcasts I listen to do. And I'm going to kind of probably test out both and see, what works best, and if either of them actually generate any revenue. But I just want you guys to be prepared for that too, that you're going to start hearing advertisements. And obviously, if you're a patron, you won't. Those are going to remain ad free. And probably, little bits like this of me begging you to help me or share the news, those will also not be in patrons only episodes. I'll probably cut something like this for you guys. But for now, I'm still figuring out exactly how the ad thing is going to work. So just be ready. It's not happening next week, but it's coming. So that's everything. That's all the announcements that I had. I know, right? And I probably should just say hi to Liz Adams, Megan Walsh, Time Goes By, Aurora Barr, Rebecca Cook, Atomica, Ray Torres, Elizabeth Bergskaug, and Christina Bradford, who all became patrons this past week. I had 1 week with one new patron, and then the next week I had 7. So, it goes back and forth. Welcome to all you guys.
People love you.
Thank you so much. And make sure to register on the website and find the Facebook group, and I will add you and join the conversation because our community is getting quite busy and big. So welcome. And thanks, guys.
Welcome.
All right. Let's get into this episode. Let's do this thing.
Oh, right. The show.
Show. Tee-hee.
So this episode, this is Justified Season 5, Episode 3, Good Intentions. This is written by Benjamin Cavill. This is his 11th episode of Justified. And directed by Dean Parisot. This is his third and final episode of Justified that he directed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his last two were in Season 3. The first one was The Devil You Know, and that was where Devil got killed. And then Slaughterhouse, which was the season finale of Season 3.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I really can't draw a line between those episodes and this one, but, good stuff.
Good effort.
I try if I can. But, this episode opens up pretty much right after the last episode ended, where Boyd is at the site of what was supposed to be his drug drop, and his guys are burying bodies and cleaning up the whole site, and Boyd is on the phone talking to Duffy, trying to figure out who ripped him off. Yeah,
and accusing Duffy, which it didn't even enter my head that this was Duffy. And not just because we basically saw a dude talking about the shipment coming in. It just, Duffy's just not going to do something that's stupid. That is a really short-term thinker that does something like that. Duffy is not the short-term guy. He isn't good. No. If he felt like he was going to ruin his relationship with Boyd, he'd probably either just kill Boyd or leave. But doing this is not in his... He's just not that stupid. So when he accused him, I was like, I guess you could insult him that way, Boyd, but good God, sir, his honor, you have sullied it, and I am ashamed of you a little bit.
No, that's very true, but also the circle of people who knew when and where this was happening was pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
And it's obviously Boyd's first assumption is going to be it must be somebody else because this wouldn't have been my people. So I get it, even though it's pretty short-sighted. I have to imagine he wasn't quite in his right head when he decided this is his first,
Yeah.
Or maybe it is the best thing to make this his first phone call, and just while his blood is still up, to say, "Did you just screw me?" And that way he says no, and and he's able to go like, "Okay."
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, that doesn't go very far before Duffy's able to change the conversation to, okay, let's look at who else knew,
and
go from there.
Thank God for Duffy.
Yeah.
They had that shit figured out really quick, honestly.
Yes, they do.
I didn't know. I hoped that it wouldn't take them very long because it seemed pretty obvious to me, but I thought, I don't know how it would go. There could be all kinds of false leads and whatever.
There are plenty of shows that would have made that the focus of the episode, is the two of them fraying because there's been a misunderstanding, and one assumes this and the other one assumes that, and no, they're just, did you do this? No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. And I am happy with that.
Agreed.
Now, meanwhile, Raylan and Allison are in Raylan's new mansion, falling up the stairs and are all over each other.
Raylan, dude.
Yeah,
you are just... He's a bit of a hooah. A little bit.
A little bit.
I'm just not impressed with his taste, man. He she asks him at one point, do you frequently get involved with women who have ties to criminal whatever? And he acts like, no, that's not a pattern with me. And I'm like, what exactly do you think a pattern is, buddy? Because you're the one last episode talking about how Loretta can't help who she is because she's the daughter of a murdered drug dealer. And I'm like, and who are you the son of? Hey, what's up, buddy? Here's a mirror. But, yeah. All right, Raylan. I guess self-awareness is not exactly his thing. He's not completely lacking it, because that would make him much, much more foolish than he is. But it's certainly not something that he even seems to realize he needs to work on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't like this chick. I don't like her.
No, I it's kind of the same thing where I guess she's not really to my taste, but then again, I wouldn't kick her out of bed for eating crackers, so she's gonna throw herself at me. All right.
She's certainly attractive enough. And like, I like the fact that she's a little bit like, I don't give a fuck, where she's just going to smoke weed and, like talk about how she probably knows the guy with the neck tattoo and not hide that from him, which takes a little bit of balls in itself. But there's just something, and I can't tell if it's her playing it this way on purpose or if it's the actress and like me not resonating with her, but there's something about her that feels like bad news. And then when you start to find out some things in this episode, I'm like, yeah, maybe that is part of the actual character and not the actress. But
yeah, I definitely think, I don't know if it's good acting or good writing or something else, but she does almost immediately give off that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with you. But for the moment, they are way into each other, and they are interrupted by a call from Art, who wants to tell Raylan that Monroe, the guy whose mansion he's staying in, is getting out on bail and is probably going to be pissed that Raylan is staying there.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to give him a heads up, which is nice of him.
Yes.
Bad timing, but nice of him.
I love that he's like, oh, well, you know what? On second thought, never mind. Everything's fine. Yeah. Oh, Art. Love you.
Yeah, good old Art. So Allison, meanwhile, has disappeared upstairs. Raylan comes back. She is lighting up a joint, and Raylan kind of raises an eyebrow like, you do know that I'm in law enforcement, right? And she's pretty like, yeah, well, maybe it's medical. And and then they talk about how awful their jobs are, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is my pet peeve with TV, is nobody is going to talk about how I've seen things I can't unsee, or I have made this the worst day of this kid's life while they're making out with somebody and about to do it. This is not sexy talk. This is not how this goes. Like, it's just, it feels so unnatural to me in this scene. Like, it bothered me. It really did.
I hear you, but this doesn't feel to me. I mean, he's clearly ready to jump right back into it as soon as he's off the phone. Mm-hmm. But I kind of feel like her brain switched into a different mode. Like, she's no longer in sexy mode. She's not on the bed, like, posing. Or, she's sitting there rolling a joint. She's pretty matter of fact. She's just kind of, her brain has switched into something else. Okay. So I can see it, and she's that way right up until he pounces on her, basically. Mm-hmm. So I get it enough. But you're right. In general, it is the kind of thing that people don't tend to blurt out because you don't talk about that stuff. That's what makes those jobs so terrible, is that you internalize all of it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But again, they don't get very far because Raylan's car alarm starts going off, or Monroe's car alarm, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Immediately I'm like, oh shit. And when he takes out the keys and shuts it off, I was like, oh, it's just a joke. Like, the joke is that they leaned on the keys, and I thought that's what all it was going to be. And then it happens again, and I'm like, oh, okay, it is what I thought. It's just that he's mistaking it. I got a little confused there for a second.
So, but he goes outside and he finds this dude leaning up on the car with a baseball bat, who appears to just be there to try to put the fear of God into him, mm-hmm. which obviously Raylan doesn't bite at that ever.
Nope.
And Raylan knows immediately what's going on, that Monroe has hired this guy to get under his skin, and he calls him out on it. Except the guy seems
like Raylan is ignoring all of the cues. I guess he thinks that this guy's just playing it smart with, oh, who's Monroe? But like, right. It felt so obvious to me. What you thought was going on is not the thing that's going on. And when Monroe like talks to him and is like, what did the guy seem like? What did he do? Obviously he's asking because he wants to know what this is about because he didn't hire the guy. Like, dude, listen to the people around you. Everybody is telling you. And you're just still like, oh, this asshole. What did he think? How did he think this was going to work? He didn't think it was going to work. He knows perfectly well it wouldn't have worked because he didn't send him. Holy shit, guy. Yeah, I was getting a little frustrated with him.
In this scene, I don't blame him because his head is somewhere else in this scene. And he thinks he knows what's going on. Yeah, I think by the time he finishes his conversation with Monroe, he should have started putting those pieces together.
Yeah, I was kind of... Sorry, I just took a drink of water. I was kind of expecting him to. I thought that was going to be what did it. Was that, the way that he reacts is going to, like, set something off in him. And even if he acts in that moment, like, he still thinks Monroe did it just because he has to keep up with the intimidation of this guy to a degree, that he would later on be like, I'm starting to think maybe that wasn't it. But no, later he's still singing the same song to everybody else. So I was like, Raylan, man, really? It's not until basically, what is her name? Allison?
Allison.
She has to straight up tell him, hey, there's this guy.
Yeah. And, although, this happened to Raylan before. This happened to him back in season 1 with Ava. There, that episode where they got, the hitman came into the bedroom with the shotgun, and they spend the whole episode tracking him down to say, why are you attacking me? And that guy's like, what made you think we're attacking you? Mm-hmm. And they were after Ava the whole time, and it never even occurred to him that anybody else would have been the target.
Right.
So he's sort of trod this ground before, and I don't like Allison nearly as much as I liked Ava. And,
right.
And what we're led to believe, neither does he, really. But I can see him, I guess. If we accept that he's way into her, then he would have blinders on like that, because he's done it before. But you're right. It is weird because I think from an audience perspective, we can tell right away that his initial assumption is a little off.
Yeah. And I mean, one could think, like you're saying about, just him liking her, that he just wants to think the best of her. And so he isn't going to go down that road with suspecting her. But you don't have to suspect her to know that Monroe didn't send him. It could be about anybody else. Like the kind of mentality where, well, who else would have sent him? Holy shit. Who else? How many enemies do you have, dude? Like, it could be anybody.
Point. Could have been the Canadians.
Right, exactly.
No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Nevertheless, though, Raylan sends the guy packing. They sort of chit-chat, thinly veiled, whatever. And he comes back in, and he is, ready to jump right back into it, except Allison is not in the bedroom, and she has all of her clothes back on, and she tells him she has to go.
You are not going to believe this. And I'm like, you're damn right I'm not.
So, yeah, poor Raylan.
I was just like, this was really when I started to think exactly what Rachel winds up saying later, which is, was she working with this guy and set up a distraction? Because he leaves so easily. It doesn't, Raylan doesn't have to get into it with him. They just exchange words, and then he peacefully turns and leaves, and he doesn't even beat in the car windshield or anything. So that was what made me suspicious, was just how easy it was. And then her immediately leaving, I thought for sure that she had taken something. And,
okay, so you actually did jump to that conclusion.
Yeah, and when it turned out that she was into some shit with this guy, but it had nothing to do with robbing the place, I was honestly surprised because I kind of just assumed that that's what this was going to wind up being. But it turns out that she's just shady in several ways, evidently. So
we go to our opening credits, we come back, and we are in the courtroom the next morning. And Monroe has just been let out of prison, and Raylan is waiting for him in the lobby. And he reminds Monroe and us that even though he is still free, the house, the vehicle, all of his stuff still belongs to the Marshal Service. Mm-hmm. And then they have this conversation about, don't send anybody else. And Monroe's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I will also mention Monroe is played by Xander Berkeley, who is one of like favorite character actors. I never think of him until he shows up, and they go, "Oh, this guy, he's great."
Yeah, he's not somebody whose name I recognize.
I started zeroing in on him simply because his name was Xander, and you don't see that a lot outside of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That's true. Or Triple X.
Or, yeah, I suppose that's true, but yeah, okay, whatever.
You know what? You know what, Alan? You just go fuck yourself. How about that?
Well, I could go Xander Bogaerts. He's plays on the Red Sox.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I know. I have a podcast for that. But it's just not a name you hear a lot. So I started noticing the name and looked it up with the actor, and then he shows up and stuff. And I'm like, hey, it's that guy. And it turns out I actually really like him. Anyway, I like this actor, and I, was excited to see him show up in this show. Even his character is sort of one-dimensional scumbag, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
but I like him. We also learn a little bit about Monroe's rap sheet, that he wasn't just a dirty accountant. He actually is kind of a generally bad dude.
Yeah.
He's been in prison for assault. He's been there's something else that they mentioned that he was around that wasn't just him fudging with numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's the thing. Like, not just his reaction, but he basically tells Raylan, yo, man, if I want to hurt you, I would not send somebody to do the job that I am more than happy to take care of personally.
Yeah,
nothing would delight me more. Like,
specifically, he says, if I sent somebody after you, it wouldn't be to set off a car alarm.
Mm-hmm.
So he's pretty, he's being pretty, pretty transparent.
Yeah,
but
and
Raylan doesn't see it. Raylan doesn't see it. Now we leave there. We go to the hospital in Lee Paxton's ICU room. So not only is he awake, he is,
talking coherent sentences.
Competent. Yes, he's back in action, except for the part about him being in a hospital bed and covered in wires and breathing tubes and stuff.
That was a surprise.
Yeah, he's a tough son of a bitch.
I did not think that shit was going to happen so soon. I thought he might come back and it would be a little while.
Mm.
And then, like, shit, he's fucking talking and berating Mooney, which is the most hilarious. Look at this woman. She's terrified. Oh, dude. Bless your heart.
Yeah, Mara's telling him how afraid of him. He tells her about what happened the other night. And Nick has his reasons, and he isn't wrong. But Paxton doesn't want to hear it. And really, he's also apparently has no compunction about just saying, like, okay, yeah, you just need to go kill him. Yeah,
I was like, it's the most sensible course of action. But for some reason, I thought he was going to make it all complicated. You know what I mean? Like, for the sake of plot, I guess, because this is something that kills me about a lot of TV shows or books, is that it's like, kill them. Oh my God. Just literally just kill them and everything is solved. Why are you making this so difficult? And I've gotten so used to it that now I expect it. So when somebody's like, no, we're just going to kill him, I'm like, thank you. And the only time that I don't have that reaction is when somebody says, oh, we're just going to kill him about a main character, because then I know it's going to go wrong. But with Boyd, it's like, he's a main character, yes, but I would not put it past the show to kill him at some point. I don't think they will, but it's not something I've taken entirely off the table. So at the very least, even if they, it didn't succeed, they could fuck him up. They could do something to ruin his life. And they, very nearly have with Ava. So,
right.
So anyway, what I'm saying is thank you for having some common fucking sense when it comes to, like, managing people for a change, Lee Paxton, because if you had some common fucking sense before, maybe you wouldn't be in this goddamn position in the first place for somebody to try to beat your head in because you were just insulting them in the privacy of your own home with no weapon or anything, nobody having your back. What were you fucking thinking, idiot? Ugh. Anyway.
No, you just completely had me flashing on Dr. Evil and Scott Evil and Austin Powers.
Right? Yeah. I'm just going to leave them in an overly complicated and elaborate death and assume it all went to plan. What? Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, Lee Paxton is he's got his shit together now that he realizes that this is not someone he's going to keep under his thumb.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Mooney has a mission. So, in the back of Boyd's bar, Jimmy has brought in Cyrus, the stupid drug dealer from last episode.
Mm-hmm.
And Duffy and Boyd, well, Boyd interrogates him. Duffy just takes a shine to Cyrus's BB gun. and
was
spends the entire scene shooting him repeatedly. It's my favorite thing in the episode.
It's so great. It's hard to say how great it was. Everything about it, from his, oh, is that a BB gun? With this kind of like childish, like genuine, like, oh shit, I haven't seen one of these in a bit. And that initial reaction to, oh, the more you pump, the harder it shoots. Pop. He doesn't hesitate for an instant. That shit is firing from 4 seconds in his hand. It's gone off already. To then pumping again and shooting again almost immediately. Like, I just couldn't, I could not stop laughing. He's just going so hard, so fast. And he just doesn't care. Oh my God. And Owen's sitting next to me during this episode. He doesn't watch the show with me often at all, but he was cracking up. And fucking Boyd, my colleague, is apoplectic at the part you played in the loss of our product. Oh God. Thank you, sir.
And honestly, I just really enjoy, because we see Cyrus last episode. We see him in the bar, and then we see him out on the street corner, just being a total dick to the junkies who have no smack. And so he's just making them run around and get shot at with the BB gun for shits and giggles.
Right.
So I just really enjoy. I love the childlike glee, but I also really enjoy the comeuppance.
The justice. Yes.
Exactly.
Come for the glee, stay for the justice.
Justified. So Cyrus immediately cops to, yeah, there's this girl, and he only knows her as Candy because of this thing she does. And Boyd is very upset that he gets interrupted, because Carl has gotten a call from that Russian lady who was on the phone with an emergency.
Yeah.
And he leaves, and Duffy is just continuing to shoot at Cyrus as the scene ends.
Oh, I love it so much.
It's not even about, now they've got the information they need, they're just going to keep him there for target practice a little while.
Oh my God. It's so, Duffy forever. Duffy forever. I dearly hope that the show never gets rid of him or kills him or does anything, because I will mourn the loss of him every episode to the point that everyone's going to be sick of hearing it. Just don't do it. Just don't do it, guys.
Meanwhile, at the Marshal's HQ, Art has learned from Monroe's lawyer that Raylan had a visit last night because of what he told to Monroe.
Mm-hmm.
So Art is, pretty upset because he's realized that he would have heard about this.
Yeah.
If he didn't hear it through like a fourth party. And he's decided that Rachel should move into the mansion to provide backup, which Raylan just calls a chaperone.
Yeah. Yeah, Raylan, it's not a chaperone when it's you. It's a babysitter when it's you. Because you're a child.
Accurate.
Oh God, he's such a whiny little bitch in this, honestly. Like, I just had there are times where I'm like, yeah, I get how frustrating that would be, but this is one of the times where I'm just like, shut the fuck up. You did this to your damn self.
I know, but he's got a mansion all to himself.
That's what happens when you fuck shit up like a dummy. You lose the mansion you're staying in. Maybe you should have thought about that before he went shooting his mouth off to a fucking criminal on trial, telling him to watch his back when he doesn't even know for sure this guy did anything. If he had been listening, he would have realized that it wasn't this dude, and then he maybe would have shut his mouth before revealing too much, and this whole thing would never have happened.
See, that's Raylan's real problem. It's not the anger issues, and it's not the poor taste in women. It's the lack of active listening.
Yeah, they train for that kind of thing. He really should take some refresher courses.
So,
I love Rachel. If you call me if you're going to be late for supper on the way out. Oh
yeah, she's only too happy to be a pain in the ass, which I really appreciate, because she at the start of the show, she has such a stick up her ass.
Yes.
Whenever she is on screen, she's a total wet blanket. She's really just kind of, she never really gets a chance to do anything fun whatsoever. And I really like that they've given her a bit more, not just personality, but they've made her fun.
And it was amazing because, like, without context, that moment, Owen's like, oh, they're totally going to fuck, aren't they? And I, like, almost choked to death. I'm like, Raylan and Rachel? No, that is never happening. Holy shit. That would be, oh my God, I'd be so upset.
That's funny. Yeah. But I can totally see it. If you just watch that scene.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
You would think that, of course, they're going there, you know? And I'm just like, oh God, no. Like, don't even say that. That's so wrong.
Now we go to Dewey's bar, and Dewey and Daryl having breakfast.
I forgot about this whole thing. Oh, Dewey.
Daryl is having cafe con leche, sort of.
Not really.
He's not really happy with that. Dewey is timidly asking him, so when is Daryl leaving? Because he should probably leave. Because all of these reasons.
Because Dewey's, just worried about you, man. Just worried about your probation. He's just looking out for you. He's just trying to do what's best for you. This is all. He just wants the best for you. That's all.
Yeah. Poor Dewey. He has no idea how to handle this situation. Daryl, though, talks to him about the business a little bit, and we learn that, one, Daryl took a bunch of classes while he was in prison, so, good on him. But more importantly, we find out that Boyd has basically completely ripped Dewey off.
Yeah.
And he sold him Audrey's for $250,000. And if we remember, Dewey only got $300,000.
Yeah. I didn't realize, honestly, the place is established, so it's hard for me to know because $250,000 to me for an established whorehouse does not seem that bad. But I don't know about real estate prices and stuff in this area or, so I don't know how much does having an established whorehouse, how much does that help you? I would imagine it helps a lot. Isn't that worth it? I don't know.
I mean, that's a good question, but he raises significant doubt when he does mention there are other places going for a whole lot less.
Yeah,
and
but
then
as Boyd points out, do they have blowjobs on the menu?
It's a good point, and I definitely don't know what I'm talking about here, but I think that Daryl raised a good point, especially later on when we find out that Dewey should be making significantly more money than he is. So Boyd really has this place coming and going.
That's the thing that I was blown away by when he says this. I misread this whole thing because they're obviously having Messer act really shady. Yeah. And I thought it was because he was trying to figure out what Boyd wanted him to say in that scene.
Oh, okay.
Because he keeps looking at Boyd before he answers. And he's saying,
Dewey.
Dewey. Before he answers his brother. What's his brother's name again?
Daryl.
And saying 5, 6, and he's like 5 or 6,000. So you guys make $300,000 a year, and then he's like, no, 100. And I thought he said 5, 6. Dewey gave him a look like, what the fuck are you telling him the truth for? And he was like, no. Oh no, just 100. Like he was trying to lowball him because he wanted to keep him uninterested in the whorehouse and taking it over because he didn't think it was worth it.
Gotcha.
You get what I mean?
Gotcha.
So I totally had a whole, yeah, right. Like that. I should have known better. Honestly, what about Dewey has led me to believe that he has that kind of foresight about how somebody's going to react or what they want. And what has led me to think that Messer thinks on his feet like that ever. But it just, I didn't think of it. And even though we've seen a scene where somebody's telling him, I need the money. We know he's skimming. We know that already. And I still didn't think of it.
But they kind of gloss over that scene pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one area of the show. It's not that they don't spell this out and they don't do, they give you enough information to understand the gist of it and kind of move forward.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they don't set up as well as they could have that Messer is on the take. But that's also kind of dealt with by the end of episode 3, so maybe they didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had honestly forgotten that we had that scene with him and that he was,
Right.
that he was ripping him off. So when it came back later, I went, oh yeah, that's right. There was that scene with him and Jimmy or Carl or whoever it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I had forgotten about that. And I don't know. Maybe I just don't have a head for numbers. So when they're throwing all around, I go, yeah, that's right. 150 is? That's a lot less than 250. Okay. All right. I'm with him. I get
it. That is a lower number than the other number. You make some valid points, sir.
Yeah.
Alan, may I suggest that you bring Amanda with you if you ever have to deal with any of this stuff?
Oh, don't you worry about that. She handles all of the bills, and I mean all of them.
All right. Good on you, lady.
Oh, yeah. I know how to pick them. So yeah, Daryl manages to get Dewey. I was going to say he gets him fired up, but he really doesn't. He kind of sends him away.
Yes.
And just says, you need to go get this money back. You need to go talk to Boyd and make this happen because you're getting ripped off. And Dewey kind of stumbles away looking a little confused.
Yeah, he tries to get him fired up, but he doesn't understand how terrifying Boyd is.
Yes.
So it's just he's misunderstanding how little the money matters to somebody like Dewey when compared to going in and giving Boyd orders on anything. I'll take the loss, thanks. I'm good.
Well, and I'm sure this whole situation, I know he was being taken advantage of, but him buying a business would be like me buying a business. When you get into numbers like $250,000, that's play money to me. That means nothing to me.
Yeah.
I have no real world understanding of $250,000.
Mm-hmm.
So they go, that's what it costs. I'd go, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
This was something that when I was living in Guatemala for a little while, I had not been educated on sufficiently that you're expected to barter for stuff when you go to the markets and
everything's real expensive.
Well, it wasn't though. That's what kind of fucks you up, because to you it's not real expensive. It seems perfectly reasonable because you're used to paying more than most places for certain things because it's not, tomatoes that somebody grew in their backyard that they're selling. It's gone through 6 different chains before it reaches you. So paying $3 a pound for tomatoes seems totally normal. But you forget, you're in Guatemala. There's no overhead for this girl. And $3 is much more here than it is there. So I would be like, yeah, sure, I'll pay that. Not even thinking twice about it. And then I would start to wonder why everybody was hailing me the next time I went down there. They, and it's like they're going to do that anyway, but there was this certain attention that I was getting. And yeah, they were like, oh, this is the mark. This is the one. Yeah. Did you hear she paid $3 a pound for tomatoes last week? I know, right? No. Get her over here. Get her over here. Had no idea. So yeah, I get what you mean. When there's a point where money feels like it's not real to you, then you're just like, I guess, sure. What does it matter? Fine. And it wasn't like it hurt me. I wasn't getting, I wouldn't say that it was fair to say I was getting taken advantage of. I really wasn't, if they were going to pick a mark, I was the one that was going to do the least damage. But once I figured it out, I did feel like a tool a little bit. I was like, oh, I should have known.
Yeah. Yeah. A little bit like Dewey.
Right. Yeah.
Dewey is off to have a conversation about finances, which is, going to go splendidly, obviously.
Bless him. He says, they're talking about curb appeal, and he says something about the peeling curb to Boyd.
Yeah.
Bless him. Dewey.
He's trying so hard.
And I know that it can seem like, oh, what a joke. But I have had this happen with people, and I'm not trying to denigrate anybody's intelligence either, because even if you're an intelligent person, if you don't know the subject matter, you're going to invert words and say shit that really doesn't make sense because you're using words that you're not even sure what the hell they're supposed to mean.
Yeah.
But I've run into this definitely with people who are just trying to speak on something that they really should just keep their mouth shut on. And it's kind of unfortunate when they choose to speak because you're just kind of proving that you shouldn't be here, buddy.
I get that a lot in my freshman English class because it's college and they understand they have to write at an academic level, and so they try to bring up the vocabulary that they're using. I had a student writing about cosmetic surgery who talked about women who get nose occupations.
Oh.
She meant nose job.
Oh no. Oh,
Yeah.
nose job. Oh, occupation and job are not interchangeable in all settings.
No.
Oh, that's hysterical. Oh my god. Oh my
Yeah.
god. That's like a bad like Google Translate.
Yeah. So
You want to say rhinoplasty or something in that case. Like
there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things like, how do you even respond to that?
Oh god.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's one that I wouldn't even be able to think up if I were trying to make a joke.
Exactly. I couldn't make that up. It's really, that's just one of those things. That someone they're trying hard and they're being really earnest about it. And so I feel bad for blowing up their spot on a podcast, honestly. But
you didn't use names. It's fine.
I know. But it really is just like, oh no, oh honey, no.
Oh, honey, no. Oh, no, baby. What is you doing?
Yeah.
There's this, have you seen The Room or Fateful Findings?
Have I seen The Room?
I don't
Come
know.
on.
A lot of people haven't seen it, and it's always shocking to me. Have you seen Fateful Findings?
People are degenerate Philistines. No, you have told me a lot about Fateful Findings. It is on my Amazon instant streaming queue, but I haven't gotten to it.
You have to. If you liked The Room, Fateful Findings will knock you on your ass. You think The Room is bad? Fateful Findings. Okay, so to steal some phrasing from the Flophouse, which covered Fateful Findings several years ago, I think at this point. Imagine The Room made by somebody who was bad at making movies. And yeah, think about it. And it's sort of the same idea where somebody uses words incorrectly in a way that you couldn't even think of because you have too much like fundamental understanding to like push past into the realm of whatever they're functioning in to put those words together. And that's what Fateful Findings is. Like, you couldn't make this movie if you were trying to make a bad movie. It's only possible if you really are functioning so far outside of logic and basic like understanding of what scene cuts and things usually mean in movies that it's like an alien made a movie. Like, they saw a movie and they were like, I probably can do that, yes. And then took a bunch of aliens and put human skin suits on them and tried to make a movie. That's what Fateful Findings is like. Go watch that movie. Everybody listening, it's on YouTube. The whole thing. Just go sit down, do yourself a favor. Make sure you're with someone because nobody will believe you when you try and explain this shit to them later and get drunk. I cannot say more than that, but for a short preview, there is a moment where he's explaining his huge project to someone and he says, I have uncovered the most secret in government and corporate secrets. The most secret. End scene. So go watch it, everybody. Anyway, sorry. Total tangent, but I love the whole idea of words being used wrong because you just are like just so far outside of your comfort zone that you don't even know what you're saying. So
yes,
nose occupation is going in my list of things that I may have to use as a joke at some point in my books. We'll see about that.
I'll never forget it. And this was not a tangent. This was us exploring parallel universe Dewey. That's all.
That's true. Yes.
Here's Dewey as a filmmaker. Here's Dewey in college.
Oh, Dewey
here's
in
Dewey,
college.
you know. So yeah, poor Dewey is off to do he doesn't even know what. Raylan and Rachel, meanwhile, they are settling in at the mansion and getting comfortable with the idea of living together for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And Allison shows up at I was going to say a pretty inconvenient time. Not really, but Rachel immediately understands what's been going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to if you know Raylan at all.
Yeah, exactly.
If it were, like, it's just, that's really the thing, is that Raylan is just so consistent that he has ruined himself being able to, like, make up anything. Because he's so constantly doing the same stupid shit that nobody's going to believe you anymore, guy.
And and he's not even lying when she goes like, "And who is that?" And he goes, "It's Loretta McCready's caseworker." And she gives him this look like,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
But Raylan takes her around to talk to her instead of letting her inside, and explains the situation. And like we talked about earlier, Allison goes, "He didn't happen to have a shamrock on his neck, did he?"
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, because it turns out she is the one who attracted the trouble.
I kind of thought that this was going to be like similar to the last situation where she just has some crazy ex, like, and he just shows up and it's like, "Hey, I want to speak to my wife," like again. But no, it is quite a different thing. But they don't tell you exactly what their connection is until a little bit later. So that's how I was like, oh no, are we doing this again? Which on the one hand, one could say, oh, that's just lazy if they did it that way. But I think it would have been kind of hilarious if they just really had him repeat his pattern so obviously. I don't even think I would have been mad. I just would have started laughing.
I agree. I think it would have been a pretty funny little plot line if they just played it entirely for laughs of he's got yet another ex-husband who is now trying to track him down, and he could easily dispatch this guy by like flicking his finger. He could send this guy away, but he doesn't have the time of day for it because he's busy pursuing whatever.
Yep.
But this is okay too. But we're not quite there yet. We have, once we realize what's going on there, we go to the jail to have our Ava scene of the episode.
I hated this.
Why?
So, I'm going to go ahead and hazard a guess that this show wants to create some drama between Ava and Boyd so that Boyd becomes tempted by the sexy wife of Mr.
Paxton.
Pantsy. I don't know why that was the name, the word that came to mind. Pantsy.
It's not the right name.
And it's not even a word. And it feels kind of cheap. Like, I like this character, Mara. I think she is real interesting. I love the fact that she's clearly very intelligent, is thinking on her feet, has made sure to not just let Boyd get killed, even though that would in many ways kind of work things out for her if she just let that happen. But it, like, this kind of just felt out of character to me, the way that Ava's acting. Like, he is asking her for something which is pretty fucking important because his stash got hit. And while it may not seem like it's totally relevant at the moment, if Boyd is known as the dude who can get robbed, any sort of like influence or power that he has in this town that can lead to her getting out is going to be ruined. Like, the only way that he has the ability to intimidate anybody is because he has a bunch of thugs on his side. And if he loses that, which can certainly happen if everybody finds out that you can be fucked with and nothing's going to happen, then where is he? So her being like, well, I was hoping that you would just ask me how I'm doing and tell me how you're going to get me out of here. I'm like, yo, this is, although indirectly, still super important for you too. And being like, she's like, he's asking her clearly for her help, and she gives him this look and it's like, oh, so what, do you want a blowjob? And I'm like, really? That's the thing that you're taking away from this? He just told you that the one stash that he is the very last stash that he can rely on getting has been hit. And he knows who did it. He is like positive who did it. And he knows that you probably know. And you're going to sit there and throw shade at him for trying to get your help? All he has been doing is trying to help you. And he asks for your help in one way. I just wanted to smack her. I really did. I was just so fucking annoyed. And frankly, when he just straight up says to her, I wasn't the one who killed him. I'm trying to do what I can. I didn't blame him because I thought he should have said that to her a little bit ago. Because she's just been wholly ungrateful. And not only did he not kill this dude, but he told her to take some help with her. And she didn't do that either. She has decided to, take matters into her own hands. And when you decide to do that, you're also accepting that maybe the consequences are going to be different and you're going to be alone. And clearly she didn't think that through, or she thought that somehow Boyd was a miracle worker and that no matter what happened to me, he'll figure it out. And now she's realizing that, no, he's a dude who has obstacles and maybe he's going to need your help sometimes. And if the instant that he needs your help, you're going to turn around and whine about the fact that he isn't focusing on the exact thing that you want him to focus on, that's not helpful to anybody, least of all you. And for somebody who's in the position that she's in, where I feel like what I would be so frustrated by is feeling helpless, being in a position where I can't do anything and I am waiting for somebody else to help me. She's been given an opportunity to help in a very real way. Give me a name. I need to find this person. And she's still not stepping up. And I have no patience. I have none.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so let me ask then, do you think it's a lack of context about what's going on with Ava, or do you just think it's poor writing?
I mean, it could be lack of context, but I don't think if it is that the show has done anything to indicate to me that there's something more going on here. And if they want to make that reveal later and not have me kind of roll my eyes a little bit, I wish that they would do something more to warn me that she might be having her own things happening. Because just her being there's humiliations here and why aren't you asking me how I am? That doesn't feel like enough for me to really think she's in trouble or she is really suffering any more than one would in a prison in any case, So okay. If that's it, I'm not really going to be satisfied by that. And in terms of the writing, it's maybe because people are irrational all the time. So maybe when I say it's out of character, that's not totally fair, but I've never seen Ava in this kind of position before. So it's hard to know how she would react. It just doesn't feel true to me. Okay. I don't know. I don't have much to base that on other than how I've seen her react in other stressful situations. And she has managed to come out on top during things that would fuck a lot of people up pretty badly. So I think that's kind of where I'm coming from on that, is that I've seen her overcome a lot. And for her to just kind of panic at this point because she feels like he's not doing enough when he's clearly doing everything he fucking can, it's just really hard for me to believe that she would kind of break the way that she seems to be. And couple that with her being mad at him for beating this guy's head in because, his testimony is the one that we need switched. And I'm honestly, if you knew Lee Paxton, if you saw that situation, he wasn't going to change his testimony anyway. I don't feel like what Boyd did fucked them over. I feel like Boyd knew it didn't make a difference and that he was going to have to figure out something else, and I may as well beat the shit out of this guy because who the fuck cares at this point, because he's not going to do what I'm asking. so fuck him. You know, like,
Okay.
it just doesn't,
Okay.
like, she's acting as if we almost had it. No, you didn't. Did you see the conversation, dude? You didn't. You don't know how it was. And he was nowhere near caving to Boyd's demands. The only thing was Boyd takes your place. And I'm more than positive Boyd does that and Lee Paxton doesn't do shit. I really don't trust that man to hold up his end of a deal with somebody like Boyd ever. So to me, him making that deal was just him fucking with Boyd to make a point, because he knew that Boyd wouldn't take the deal, and he's trying to make it like he didn't take it because he doesn't love Ava enough, when in fact he didn't take it because you're a lying snake and he knows it.
Okay. All right. That's totally, I'm totally with you there. And I guess I don't have much to say about this because we haven't seen very much of this, really, this whole storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask one other question. Now, do you think some of this could be explainable because whenever Boyd has talked to her right up until now, it has been sort of sunshine and roses, like, we got this, don't you worry, I'm going to take care of it, I got all this handled, and now suddenly it's, yeah, we don't actually have any of those things taken care of.
I mean, it could be, but that's kind of what makes me think, like, you should see then how dire this is. He has come in here assuring you that he has things handled, and then he comes in here one day telling you that he got robbed and he knows who did it and needs your help. And this is a pretty big fucking deal. And you're just going to sit there and whine about how he's looking for a blowjob when you know perfectly well that's not anything about what this is. Like, it feels like, to me, you should take him at his word that he's doing what he can, even if you can't see it. Because this isn't a man who doesn't care about you, and this isn't a man who isn't constantly worrying about what he can do to help. And it feels like she's sort of lost trust in him for just because things are slowed down and haven't gone the way that they need them to go. And I don't feel like that's fair. You know, she has made some really stupid decisions herself, and he has still stuck by her. I don't I don't know.
Actually, let me, I said it was going to be my last question, but what do you think about him at the end when she kind of says, so this was my fault?
Yeah, it is your fault.
It is come back as, well, I didn't kill Delroy.
Yep.
And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he does kind of ask her to own it in a way that he has never asked of her before.
Yep. Like, honestly, that's the thing that makes me the most angry, was her being like, so this is my fault, in this way, like, she really thinks it's not. Like, she says it as if that's not 100% the case. I wanted her to kill Delroy. Don't get me wrong. The guy was trash. But she could have gotten away with it if she had been smart about, like, Ellen May and figuring out what that woman wanted, instead of just deciding to kill her and betraying her, like, over and over again. She could have not sent her one dude away that was supposed to help her and been caught totally by herself with her pants down. There's a number of ways that this could have been handled, and she chose to make her own stupid decisions where just killing him isn't the problem. You know, it's all the ways that she handled it after it was done that were foolish and short-sighted and not measured in terms of, like, human nature and reading people. So I think the fact that he's finally saying, I didn't kill him, and looking at her in that way is long overdue. Like, he has been very indulgent, and to a degree that I found almost baffling. Like, I appreciated it, and I thought it was sweet how much they stuck by one another. So it didn't bother me, but it definitely made me go, damn, he is really patient a few times.
Yeah, you did.
So at this point, I'm just not, like, if I were him, I would have lost my patience a little bit ago. So I feel like he is completely in the right to, like, basically be like, listen, I am doing what I can, but there is a chance that you're not going to get out of here because everything that they have on you is correct. All of the evidence that they have is true and factual. And if there's nothing I can do, then there's nothing I can do. I'm not a fucking wizard, you know?
Fair enough.
I'm just so irritated with her. I really am. I want her to like do anything to, and maybe that's part of the show's problem is that they have put her in this helpless position where all she can do is like whine and snipe. And so I'm supposed to like kind of feel that for her and like be compassionate on her behalf because she feels so helpless. But instead I'm just like, I'm bored of her. And watching Boyd go out into the world and run like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to solve all of these fucking issues, and then come back to her sitting in the same place, giving him the same look, bitching about how she's still there. It's just, it feels like the damsel in distress thing, but she isn't even acknowledging that she has anybody on her side at all. Like she's acting like she's all alone. Yeah. You've got this person right here who's clearly on your side trying. Don't make the one person who's fighting for you feel like they're not appreciated or that you don't have faith in them. I've been going on too long about this. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Honestly, Ava annoys me this season. We're only 3 episodes in, but I'll tell you, she annoys me this season.
Yeah.
So you're not alone.
I was like, last season she annoyed me a little bit, but it was mostly just her starting to harden up a lot. And that, while it frustrated me because I felt like she was making some bad choices, is at least interesting to watch because it feels real. It feels like there's no way that you live with Boyd and have this kind of life and don't start to get a little cold. Like, how do you survive unless you do that, right? It's just a defense mechanism after a point. Like, it's for your own mental health. So, to that degree, I actually found it kind of interesting, even though it was frustrating. But now, it feels very one-dimensional. And I would love it if the show had her do something on her own, trying to help. And I don't know what that would look like. Maybe making some calls, maybe trying to like find some people inside who have dirt, or, like I said, at the very least, give him the name of the fucking woman that he's looking for and where to find her.
Right.
But it seems like she just wants to sit back and be saved. And that is so boring.
I hear you.
Yeah, that's that.
All right. Well, then let's get away from Ava for right now.
Yeah, let's please.
Let's go back to Raylan, who's paying a visit to Henry Granger, who is the guy with the baseball bat. And I love when fight scenes involve a Nature Channel documentary going on in the background.
Yeah, what is that? That's so frequent, too.
I know, it's such a bizarre thing that it's bizarre in how frequently they do it. In media, I guess. But yeah, I totally love it. He's watching a documentary on lions, and the narrator's telling them how lions choose the coolest hour to hunt. And he hears his car alarm going off, and Raylan is essentially waiting outside the door to smash his face in.
Oh my God. The way that he does that is so fast. It's elbow to the face. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I had barely gotten hold of what the hell was happening. And he's in the house, baseball bat in hand, cool as a cucumber. Raylan, listen, I may give you a hard time about being a bit of a drama queen and trying to be too cool. But, man, you pull it off sometimes, yo. Honestly. Like, this is a man who deserves the swagger that he has. And that is a rare thing. It would be too much if it were like anybody else. I'd be like, get over yourself. But nah, he walks in there and he's even wearing jeans with a denim jacket.
I was going to say there are a few people who could pull off a denim jacket these days.
And a denim jacket with jeans? That's no good. You don't want that. But he did it. And he looks good. Ugh. And the way that he, like, it's so effortless how he beats the hell out of this guy. He does it with the bat in one hand while leaning up against the mantle with the other. He isn't even putting his whole body weight into it. He isn't breaking a sweat. He's just like, oh, God, shut up.
He's almost using the baseball bat like a fire poker. Like, he's not even swinging it like a bat. He's just like,
It's like he's swatting a dog on the nose with a newspaper.
Yes.
Like, it's so kind of demeaning, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, this was an unusually good, like, scene of a dude just dominating another dude in a very non-sexual way, I swear. But seriously, like, he just walked in and owned that place. He owned it, man, he owned everything in that house. And that's just how it was. All right, I see you, Raylan. I forget sometimes, man, that I get so annoyed with him. And
Raylan hunts in the coolest hour.
You know how it's the coolest hour? Because there's a denim jacket.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So, yeah, he does this interrogation of Henry, and we learn that Henry is a scumbag meth cook. Mm-hmm. And Allison took away his son. And he freely cops to being a scumbag meth cook. Well, more or less freely cops to it. Mm-hmm. But he says that she planted drugs on him in order to get his kid away. And Raylan has plenty of good reasons why that was a good idea, if indeed that's what happened. Mm-hmm. And he defends her and says, whatever she did, she didn't do it to you. She didn't do it to you. She did it because she thought it was the best way to do her job.
Which, I mean, I thought what he was going to say, she didn't do it to you. She did it for your kid.
Right.
That's where I thought he was going. But instead, he does this weird thing where he's like, it's about her job, where I was like, that's a lot less effective to say to this guy, I think.
Well, I agree. I think it says something about Raylan's personal, personal ideology or his personal mission statement or whatever, that's the way that he can so quickly reframe the situation. And he is careful not to say whether she did or didn't do it. Mm-hmm. And so we don't really know what happened there. But Henry's not happy about it. Raylan says, if you ever come near her again, the best case scenario is you wind up in jail. And that's the best case.
Yeah, I'm like, I mean, and because he says something like, why would she want to take him away from you? Maybe it was because of the bruises that your boy had. And he's like, oh, well, that was his mother. And she was on the pipe, but she got off it for a while. And then after he got taken, and he tries to, imply that she would have been fine if it hadn't been for her taking our kid away. It's like, no, that's not how addiction works. And also, you beat your kid. You chose to beat your kid. That's still on you. Just being high is not an excuse for beating your child. It is a reason why you are a shitty parent. It is part of the reason why. But it's not like you get it was just because you were high. Oh, it doesn't count then. No, that just makes it worse, actually. I don't know if you thought about that part. And so, if what she's saying happened is what happened, then I could see why she would do what she did. But it's certainly up in the air whether it is what happened, because I don't really trust her. And the fact that she has done this makes me think that this cannot be the first time. And there, when you go and make those kinds of judgment calls that change somebody's lives forever, you better be really, really sure. You better know, eyewitness, you're like, you yourself are the eyewitness that something went down, but you were alone, and so there's nobody to corroborate you and nobody will believe you. That's how sure you should be before you make a move like taking somebody's kid away. And I somehow doubt that she has been that sure every time. If she is as reckless as she has proven herself to be in the short time that she is with Raylan, yeah, I could see her being somebody who goes with a gut instinct and is like, you know what? I don't like the look of this guy. I bet such and such, and just decides to do what she thinks is best for the kid with half the information. That's what I'm going with this lady.
Yeah, well, it is interesting how quickly, because I had the same reaction. It's interesting how quickly you hear that information and you accept it as true.
Which information? That
the information from this guy that she planted the drugs on me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like there ought to be room, and certainly there's room in Raylan's head, for whether or not this actually happened.
Right.
But given everything we've seen so far, you and I both go right to, like, oh yeah, that not only did that happen, we're already past the question of whether or not it happened, because it clearly happened.
Right. And part of it is Raylan's reaction, where he doesn't, like, it's not about whether it happened. It's about whether it was justified that it happened. Because he kind of goes where we are. And he's just like, yeah, maybe she did. And, you know, he's sort of like kind of not interested in that part of it as much as, but did you deserve it though? You know, which is... And yeah, I really do think that she seems like exactly the type of person that would do that. And I gotta say, this is part of the reason that I am not somebody who's interested in becoming law enforcement, because I don't trust myself in situations like that. If I were in a situation where I felt really sure somebody had done something and it looked like they were really going to get away with it, I don't know that I would be above planning something to ensure. I don't know that I would be above that. I really have very little faith, I think, that things happen the way that they're supposed to happen, and that the justice system does what it's supposed to do. So, you know,
Natasha is the law.
Well, it's not like, it's just more of life isn't fair. So I'm going to try and be that extra nudge to make it a little more fair. Even though what I'm doing is inherently unfair, you know, and that's kind of the question in shows like The Wire or one of my favorite movies on the subject, LA Confidential, where there's, you know, this cop who's like in this position where he finds out that they're doing all kinds of shady shit. And is it wrong? Like, objectively, yes. But also, are they wrong? Well, are they? You know? And I don't trust myself. I really don't. I am somebody who can be, and this was where, like, Brendan and I would kind of, like, butt heads a lot. Because Brendan is the truth is the truth type of guy. That's it. And he would never, even if he had been, like, wronged, if somebody did something to him, for example, at work, and they like dicked him over with something, and he had the opportunity to not even get back at them, but just kind of like take advantage a little bit back in the other direction, which to me is just evening the scales. They fucked you over, so you fuck them over a little bit next time, and they kind of deserve it. He wouldn't do that. He was not the type to do it. And to me, that's baffling. So you're just going to let them keep taking advantage of you until like, you finally call them out on it, which he apparently was never really prepared to do. And that, to me, is really unfair. But for him, what I was proposing was dishonest, and two wrongs don't make a right. And he's not wrong either. It's just, to me, one's fair and one's right. And right and fair don't always, like, go together.
Right. I mean, fair. I mean...
Anyway, don't, guys, Don't put me in charge of people's lives. That would not go well for anybody.
Yeah, so all sorts of moral ambiguity going on.
Yeah, sorry, this is going to be a long episode because I'm just talking my fucking ass off tonight.
It really is. I thought this was going to be a quick episode for us, too.
I'm sorry.
And that's okay. That's okay. It's all good stuff. But we go from a place of real moral ambiguity to a place of just evil, black, soulless, morality.
This was rough.
Yes, we see Gloria and Monroe. Gloria was the maid who takes care of his more personal needs, or whatever the hell it was. And they're in a rented room somewhere, and they are getting a little bit intimate. But Monroe, who has heard about this thing that happened from Raylan, thinks that this guy must have been working with Gloria, and that he was trying to get Raylan out of the house so she could sneak in and steal something. And the way that he tries to figure out whether or not she is loyal to him is by choking her and then suffocating her within an inch of her life.
Oh my God.
And to the point where she actually loses consciousness.
I really thought he was going to kill her, and I was going to be so pissed.
Oh, yeah.
The one other black woman that's been on this show, and they were
right.
just going to kill her in the first episode that she has like more than one line. I was about to like flip some shit, let me tell you. Yeah,
it's entirely understandable that she looks in both of these. He chokes her in two separate instances in the same scene, and in both of them, when he takes his hands off of her, she looks dead.
Yep.
Yeah, and finally, he kind of smacks her awake, and she reminds him that Win Duffy was the guy who installed the secret safe that they have in the house. So maybe it was him. So he decides to believe her.
And he decides to tell her that she shouldn't have argued with him so much.
Yes. I just wish you'd been more cooperative in the first place instead of getting all argumentative. It would have saved us both a lot of trouble.
Can I tell you what a classic abuser move that is?
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is from the handbook. I'm going to beat you, and then I'm going to tell you that it's your fault I beat you because you were being mouthy. You were making trouble. You needed to be taught a lesson. And I'm sorry for the fact that you made me do this. There was like an article recently where there was a woman who caught on camera her husband screaming at her that he would like to see her stabbed to death. That he would be happy if it happened.
Yeah, he never understood how he could hear about people getting stabbed multiple times like that, but now he gets it. And he's saying to her, if you had just answered my question, if you had just listened to me and told me the answer without giving me all this trouble, then this wouldn't have been a problem. That is just like, it's such a classic thing. When he said that, it just like really freaked me out because it felt so dead on, and she rolls over and is just like, got this look on her face like she's going to listen to him. And I'm like, lady, when you get out of there, you fucking run. But I don't know what kind of resources she has. So I just wanted her to run, though. When she shows up in the next scene, I assumed she was running to them like for protection. That was my initial thought. Until she opens her mouth, and then it's clear that what's going on. But after that first scene, my immediate thought is like, yeah, go to the cops.
Right, yeah.
Because what a horrifying human being. And no, apparently must not have been the first time that they had that
kind of interaction. Yeah.
Kind of interaction, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty terrible. Speaking of that next scene, Raylan and Rachel are in the kitchen. They are hanging out. Rachel is challenging Raylan on his taste in women and exactly what Allison's deal is.
Yep.
And this is where she posits that Allison might have been working with this guy, which, I'll be honest, it didn't occur to me at all. That's why I was surprised to hear from you that it did. I don't know why, but it just never even occurred to me.
Yeah, it was just like, when she suddenly was like, I've got to go, I was like,
No,
But
I just took it for like the wah, 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 but like the button on the scene, and yeah, but that I totally get it. My brain didn't even go there until Rachel said it. Anyway, they had that conversation, and they get interrupted by the doorbell, and there's Gloria, who is there to check on the koi, which, according to her, are worth $100,000.
which, like, is that remotely true?
Like,
That's another one where I'm just like, she could just be saying that and I would never know. Like,
yeah,
I had no idea. What are the koi prices today, good sir?
right. Now, I was wondering how the heck she got away from them, because if I'm letting that person back into the house as associated with the known criminal, I am watching her every single second.
Well, I think that was right. Like, they make her feel like they're not watching her.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they were watching her.
Yeah, that because they know that if she feels like she's being watched, she won't do the thing, and they want to catch her doing the thing, whatever that is.
True. That's true. That's true. But yeah, she is there, and she is going to go take care of some fish. Now, Boyd, meanwhile, has started to get an idea of how they're going to find Candy. He sends out Carl to go check out the 3 most likely places where she is, and tells him she needs to be brought back alive, and no one can know that she's been taken.
Right.
And as Carl slips out, Dewey storms in, and he is putting on his best bargaining face to tell him that he feels he's been ripped off. You owe me $100,000. And within about 30 seconds, the conversation is devolved to Dewey begging for help.
I cannot get over how Boyd turned this around.
Yeah.
You are a businessman. You are changed, and I am so proud of you. And sometimes being a man means that you have to put your foot down. And I was just like sitting there, oh, man. Because there are times where he has his bluster, and I'm like, who does this work on? And then I'm like, oh, right.
Oh, right. Everyone who lives in Harlan County.
Right.
Yeah, but I love, he has no time for this.
Nope.
And he is like, he may as well be backing towards the door the entire time he's giving this speech.
Mm-hmm.
And he gives like this sort of semi-inspirational speech, and you get to the end of it, and he leaves, leaving Dewey by himself with this look on his face, like he's gearing himself up to do this.
That's right. I'm a man. I'm going to do what men do. Oh, this guy.
And it's so hilarious. And my boss at work is like that. He gives like off the cuff motivational speeches that he's clearly, like, after 3.5 years of it, is only halfway paying attention, I think, sometimes, but they work. He's just got that charisma where he can get people motivated to go out into the world and do good. And it's amazing to watch that in person.
I wish that I could do that for myself sometimes.
Oh, me too.
I could use it.
Yeah. Back at the Monroe Mansion, meanwhile, Gloria is opening the hidden safe, which, yeah, and obviously she is being watched the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And Raylan and Rachel walk in on her, and there are stacks of gold bullion. And
Wait, are we there already? I feel like you skipped. Oh, no, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry.
It's
so
a
quick.
Scene.
Yeah.
It's a quick scene. Yeah, they get through a lot in a short period of time in there. But yeah, she has these gold bars, this gold bullion, and kind of on the fly, they improvise this plan where she calls him and tells him that the safe was empty.
Mm-hmm.
And under threat of going to jail, she calls him and she appears to sell it.
I really thought that he was going to think she was lying and keeping it.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised that he was like, yeah, when Duffy probably already took it. Because if I were him, I would not have believed her. I would have figured, like, I would have sent her to do this in the first place is really where I would have been if I were him. But, you know, I'm crazy in that after I almost choked somebody to death 2 times, I figure they're not going to be loyal to me anymore. And I underestimate the power that an abuser can have because despite him almost killing her, she is about to just do what he wants.
Yep.
So, it's so awful to watch.
Yeah. So, no, and actually, I'm sorry, I take it back. She doesn't make the phone call in that scene, but they go through that whole plan with her really quickly.
Right.
before she makes that call, we go to the sheriff's office where Mooney is told he got a call from Mara, and he needs her to come by. She needs him to come by, excuse me, because of Boyd doing drive-bys.
Mm-hmm.
So he shows up really like, all right, I'm walking into a trap. Clearly walking into a trap.
Right.
Clearly walking into a trap. Hey, she's naked. And it puts him off his guard just enough to wind up with a gun in his face because Boyd is right behind him.
And she grabs him. Oh my God. The look on his face, he is really good at being super pathetic right now.
Oh, yeah.
This is like a real Peter Pettigrew moment for me. Where he's just like devolved into such a like whimpering simpleton that this is what made me agree with her. He is so easy to manipulate in this moment that of course he's not going to keep this up. He can't possibly sustain this kind of fear. And that is a man with an enormous ego. He's not going to walk away from this and be like, oh, I'm on Boyd's side now. He's going to walk away from this and be like, that motherfucker, it humiliated me. Like, I really wish that Boyd would fucking listen to Mara. Dude, this is a pretty clear-cut case. Like, look who this guy is. He's in a uniform for a reason. Like, this is the kind of personality that the military and law enforcement attract, are people with big egos and fragile masculinity a lot of the time. And yo, this guy is like a poster boy. Like, his Facebook is probably a nightmare. So yeah, Boyd's making the wrong call here, but
yeah, but for the moment, he's got a plan, so
Yep.
he needs him alive. Boyd's always got a plan.
mm-hmm.
Now we have the really, really quick scene of Gloria on the phone, calls Monroe, says, sorry, baby, your gold is gone. He seems to buy it, and then she gets off the phone and says, well, Monroe's going to go kill Duffy.
That cracked me up. I was like, oh, all right, I guess.
Yeah, and speaking of whom, we go right to his RV where he's eating dinner, and I love Mike comes in to let know that Raylan is here, and he says, "You want to? Should I let him in?"
No, I want you to get back behind the wheel and see if we can outrun him. Yes, let him in. Oh, I love him.
He's great. So Raylan comes in, and Duffy is bemused the right word here?
Yeah, well, I would say just in general cautious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Raylan here goes like, yeah, I'm actually here to protect you. Which
surprise, surprise.
Yeah, well, that's a refreshing change of pace. And they start to have this conversation about where Raylan leads him to the conclusion that he sold this guy, essentially to let him in on the plan, but he kind of lets Duffy get there by the most roundabout possible way.
Mm-hmm.
And just as they finish coming to the conclusion that Duffy is now a target, they hear shots outside.
Yeah, that startled me. Like, did not expect that to go down quite so quickly. It was immediate.
Nope. Yeah, Paxton's not he's not a sniper, and he's not a Green Beret.
Wait, that's not Paxton.
Not Paxton. I'm sorry, Monroe.
Monroe, right? Okay, I'm like, wait, because
yeah.
you could tell me that it was Paxton, and I'd sit here for 10 minutes going, "Is it?" I am not confident in my names on this show sometimes.
Good catch. Good catch. But yeah, they get right as they start getting into the conversation, gunshots, they rush outside. Mike is on his knees, hands behind his head. Rachel's got her gun on him, and Monroe is on the ground twitching.
Yeah, and that was unexpected, guys. That one really caught me by surprise. I can't emphasize enough how little I thought this was going to go down in this episode. I figured, it's going to be like a big to do about like getting him somewhere safe and setting a trap and yada yada. Nope, none of that. He's just gonna come right out there, guns blazing, quite literally, in the most literal sense.
And I like Raylan's kind of impressed because Rachel tells him, like, yeah, he fired on Monroe before she had even gotten her gun out of the holster. And Duffy says, yeah, Mikey's a stone killer. Why do you think I keep him around?
Oh, bless.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for Mike now?
That's a good question. At the moment, it means
shot
his
this
knees kind of
guy
hurt.
right in front of a couple of marshals. Like, that can't be good.
But it was the guy who was coming to murder the person they're trying to protect.
But was he actually firing yet? Or, like, does it count as self-defense if somebody hasn't attacked yet? Is really the question to me.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because, you know, if you have a witness who has said he was going to go kill them, maybe that counts. Maybe that's enough, you know, and he's approaching and he's armed. Maybe that is enough. I don't know how that works. I don't know what the rules are with that.
Yeah, I don't know. But that situation dealt with. Huh.
Yeah, right away. Okay.
Yep. Across town, Mara and Boyd are in the bar having a conversation that eventually comes around to the idea of faking Boyd's murder by duplicating a tattoo on a corpse. And so where are you landing on this scene?
What do you fucking think? You know, I hated it. I hated all of it. It was terrible. Yeah. Fucking knock it off, you two.
Yeah, Mara inspecting Boyd's tattoos, of which he's got the swastika on his upper arm and a GC over his heart and a scorpion on his back. And he's got like a little like Pamela Anderson barbed wire thing around his opposite forearm.
Oh, the barbed wire. God, I remember thinking that was so hot when I was like 14 years old.
Yeah. No, there was
time.
I used to mentor a kid in high school, and when he was 17, he got his first tattoo, and it wasn't barbed wire. It was actually like simulated like leather with an Indian feather. Ooh. And I was just like, okay, man, if that's really, his whole high school class got obsessed with tattoos. A kid moved there from Ohio and got a tattoo of Ohio over his heart. So I'll always remember where he came from, and no one can ever doubt his love. And all of the girls thought it was the single hottest thing they'd ever seen.
It's hard to like remember a time where I really did think that was, you know, like I know that it happened, but it's impossible for me to get back into that mindset now. Barbed wire tattoos, puka shell necklaces, and frosted tips. That was a recipe for a hot guy. Oh, brother. Yeah,
I hated all of those things because my neck was too fat for one of those necklaces. I was already losing my hair, and I'm afraid of tattoos. So.
Oh, Alan.
No, I wasn't actually afraid of tattoos, but the other parts were true. So, did I tell you my mother's getting a tattoo, by the way?
No.
Yes.
What?
She texted me the other night. One of her old high school friends, was visiting her down in Florida. And I get a text at 10:30 at night saying, "How come you never got a tattoo?" And I was like, "Oh boy, mom's drunk."
Oh no.
So I learned through the course of a conversation that she is getting a tattoo over the objections of her husband.
Nice. Good for her.
I know. She comes up next week. I'm
what is she
interested
getting?
to hear about it. She actually hasn't said. She knows what she wants, but she hasn't told me.
So mysterious.
Right? So that's my mom, 62.
Be a dolphin riding a skateboard going, "What's up?"
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Well, you know, it's funny. The answer that I wrote back to her, I asked her what she was getting. She didn't say. I said, also, to answer your question, you told me when I was young that a tattoo was a permanent reminder of a temporary feeling. And so that was pretty much my attitude until I was about 30. I didn't want to do something I'd regret. A few years ago, I finally realized I trust myself not enough not to make a dumb decision about something like that. So it's just a matter of finding the right idea. Once I figure it out, I'll get one. Okay. And for the time being, Amanda has enough for both of us. And
does she? I didn't know that she had tattoos.
She does. And I was thinking, it is so like my mother to say something that would influence my judgment on a topic for 3 decades and then just change your mind.
Yeah.
Oh, my mom. So anyway, none of my tattoos are going to look like Boyd's. Hopefully none of my mom's tattoos are going to look like Boyd's.
The weird, stick, what do they call it? Oh, I forget what it's called when you just, stick it and then smear ink over it, basically. But that says JC. That was pretty clearly a prison tattoo.
Oh, prison tattoo, yeah.
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 What do they call that, though? Oh, there's a word. There's a phrase for it.
It's not just called prison tattoos?
But it's called sticking something. That's going to make me crazy. Somebody listening is yelling at their fucking iPhone right now. This is what it is, you idiot. Oh, well. Poke and stick. Stick and poke? Stick and poke. I think it's stick and poke. I think that's the one.
Okay.
Are you looking
prison
it up?
Prison tattoo, stick and poke. Came right up.
Yeah. Okay.
So there you go. Yeah, you're right.
A couple of my friends have those too. When their parents wouldn't let them get tattoos, and they were like, "Fuck you! I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm going to do it in this real unsanitary, scary way." But yeah, this whole scene was just so uncomfortable, dude. For real.
A little uncomfortable, considering we've invested how many seasons in Boyd and Ava's relationship.
And it really feels like they're trying to be Boyd is so unhappy with how little Ava appreciates him, and this woman is so beautiful. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but if they have this go where I think they're trying to have this go as easily as they're trying to make it happen, I'm going to lose a lot of respect for them, because that is just drama for the sake of it. And I do not believe for a second that he would go through the kind of trouble that he has gone through so far just to betray Ava now. It would take a lot more, I think.
You don't think that that he is the kind of guy who could have an indiscretion like that?
I wouldn't say that he couldn't, but I feel like it would. It feels so cheap. And sure, that happens and whatever, but it's not really about him at this point. It just feels writing wise, we have so many irons in the fire. We don't need this.
It's fair.
You know what I mean?
That's fair.
I don't know.
No, I do. If nothing else, that is definitely true. Even if it was the most well done thing in the world, there are so many plots going on right now that we don't need another one on top of everything else.
And I'm just, under other circumstances, this chick is super interesting, and him and her together, I think they would make a pretty decent team. And
power couple.
I thought him and Ava would make a good team, and Ava has done nothing but make bad decisions. So maybe this would be better. I don't know, but it just feels like part of what I have valued about Boyd as a character is this weird kind of code of honor that he has, and feeling like he really had committed to somebody in a way that he hasn't seemed to commit to almost anybody. With the vulnerability that he has with Ava. Yeah. And if he did just jump in the sack with somebody else, that would really undermine it for me. It's one thing to have a character who is just a philanderer, but we haven't seen that kind of behavior from him in the past in this relationship. And it would seriously change my outlook on what they mean to each other if that started now. So, okay. Yeah.
No, that's fair. That totally, that is what it is. We've already talked about this scene to death, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have a plan, and they are going to try to fake out Paxton by copying one of his tattoos.
And does she grab his hand and put it up against her crotch?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'm sorry, but that is exactly what she does. Do you have it up right now?
I do. I was on my other screen.
37:15.
All right, let's see here.
And she takes his hand and she turns it over as if she's looking at his tattoo. And she presses his hand between her legs, and his fingers slide up against her crotch.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
That
100%.
is absolutely what happened right there.
Yep.
Yep.
So I'm not sure what she's playing here. Is she actually into Boyd? Doubt it. I'm thinking she's doing some kind of, starting something to set him a little bit off balance. And I don't
Which
know
he
what that
certainly is
means.
at the end of the scene.
Oh, yeah. He is like all over the place. He's staring at his hand like it's dipped in gold now. So I think she's obviously setting up to play him somehow, but I don't know what that looks like. I'm hoping it's to kill Mooney because she's right. And he's not listening to her. So if this is what it takes to kill him, then maybe that's worth it. Like, as much as I don't want him to cheat on Ava for the sake of it, if it turns out that it gets him to kill Mooney, maybe that's fine. It's really about, like, I don't like couples drama. But at this point, Ava's pissed me off so much that I'm just kind of like, her happiness isn't a factor in why I don't like this whole thing. So...
Nope, fair enough. And we will have to see what develops.
That was awkward.
Yeah. So, I was going to make a joke about, she'll have to have a seat on his lap and see what comes up or something. I was trying to do something. I know.
Ow.
I was just... You're the one that stopped and decided to focus on the awkward transition.
I was focusing... because you thought it hadn't happened. You were like, no, I don't think so. And I had to make you watch it. Ugh, I feel dirty.
This is true. Yeah, I'm being corrupted. She made me watch the scene again and again.
That's what you can tell Amanda this whole episode was. No, watch it. Watch it again, but in slow-mo. It's practically in slow-mo anyway.
Yeah, really kind of.
And with the music in the background and everything, I was just like, all right, show, calm down. Her like tracing over him. This is a guy who like wants to like make a play, but doesn't want to be the one. He wants to be able to say, I didn't really want to, but she pushed me. That's what he's kind of hoping for in this scene, I think. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's plausible deniability. That's what he's after.
Yeah. So, back at the mansion, Rachel has gone home because her assignment's over. Mm-hmm. And Raylan and Allison are sort of debriefing, I guess. And
sorry. They keep doing that.
Yeah. Allison notes that Raylan has a track record with the women he's been involved in. And she says, how do you know that I'm not one also? Mm-hmm. And that question doesn't really get answered because bed.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. He's like, I mean, maybe you are, whatever. Like, that's really the answer is, I don't care.
Yes.
Which, yes. All right. Nobody said you had to care. We're just wondering why you don't, is really what it is.
Also true. We then get our wrap up with Dewey, who comes back to Audrey's fired up, and he's about to tell Daryl to leave. And, well, he does tell Daryl to leave. And Daryl is like, he's impressed a little bit.
Yeah, it's like, at first I was like, oh, he's acting like he's impressed, and then he's about to break his hand. But no, it's like worse, because he's acting impressed because in a little bit of a way he is, but he also is in the total position of power here because he found the leaky pipe, as Dewey puts it so aptly, and now Dewey owes him, and the leaky pipe is his buddy.
Yeah.
It's like, this is just such a trifecta of Dewey being in a shit position. I really feel for him. Why is he in the dryer?
I don't know. Yeah, I think just to make it like the least powerful position that they possibly could, or like the you know, I don't know. It's not a good look for Wade. I think that's what it is more than anything else.
And what's his face popping bubblegum?
Yes.
There's something so dismissive about this whole scene. Just like, we don't have to worry about you. We don't even need to lock you up or tie you up, or we're just going to put you in a dryer. Like, ouch, man.
Yeah, I think it's just the last place they threw him before they decided to stop beating him.
Probably,
and he stayed there. Yeah. So, it turns out that Wade has been skimming for Boyd, and the bar's actually been taking in about $3,000 a week.
Fuck, that is more than a skim, buddy. You
Yeah.
were boiling it down to a concentrate.
Yeah, that's like 80% of what the bar is making.
Yikes.
It's going to Boyd.
The fact that Dewey didn't pick up on this is really something. He must have just been fucking all goddamn day.
He is a child.
Yeah.
He is a child. He said, Wade's my buddy. Wade will take care of it.
I just feel so bad because this is like, this is a guy who had $300,000 and he spent $250 on this place, and how much is gone since then doing all of the dumb shit that he'd been doing. He's going to be broke again in like no time at all.
Oh yeah. This is like every other lottery winner that you hear about.
Right. I like to think I'd be smarter than the other lottery winners, but I'd probably do the same fucking thing. I'm really dumb with money.
Yeah. And Daryl pulls him back out. Dewey explodes, but can't actually get anywhere near Wade.
Mm-hmm.
So outside and says, that, he's got to die. And Dewey goes, "You're going to kill him?" And Daryl says, "Oh, no.
He didn't steal from me." Ouch. Dewey, you're not cut out for this line of work, buddy. Get a different job.
Yeah. So our last scene, we're back to Boyd. And he's drinking at the bar. Carl comes in with a steamer trunk that he's like kicking around almost.
Yeah.
And inside he opens it up and he has found Candy, who I didn't recognize, but again, bad with faces, is actually Terry, who was Cousin Johnny's favorite girl.
Oh. She is?
Yes, she is.
Oh, that's not you being bad with faces, man. That just does not look like her.
Yeah, that is, and I did double check it to make sure I wasn't confusing people.
That maybe they just did something to like age her up, but maybe she wasn't supposed to have been an addict when she was with him the way that she is now.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, like that, she doesn't look anything. I would never put that together if you hadn't told me.
Yep.
Damn.
So Boyd sees her, Boyd knows her, and and they talk about somebody that they don't name, but they both know.
Mm-hmm. And
then her phone rings, and it's Cousin Johnny.
Well, he calls Johnny.
He calls her.
Yeah, or he.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Boyd. Sorry, that's right. Boyd calls the number. My bad.
Yeah, he's like, is he in here by his first or last name? Which immediately I'm like, oh shit, he knows this person's first and last name, whoever they are. And I'm still not like thinking, because I just never even thought to ask what the hell was going on with Johnny.
Yeah, well, no, we asked at the end of last season whatever happened to him.
And I didn't. Yeah, but
he was going to be a bargaining chip for Nikki, and then Nikki died.
And that's what I mean. Like this season, like last season, I'm asking, and then this season starts, and he doesn't even enter my head. He wasn't a factor. I'm just like, there was so much going on and so many fucking heads exploding in the camera. I got distracted, and I should have seen this coming. Of course, that's him fucking with Boyd after all this, and like doing it in this really obvious way because he wants Boyd to know.
Mm-hmm.
He made sure that this was going to be figured out. I think. Maybe I'm giving him too much credit.
Give him an awful lot of credit. Let's wait to see what happens in that conversation.
Because Johnny is kind of a dumb. So
kind of, sort of.
Maybe he didn't do all this on purpose. But yeah. So yeah, that was like one of those one of those good twists where you're like, oh, yeah, duh. And you feel like a tool for not having like seen that coming at all. Not even just not seeing it coming. You didn't even ask the question. Fucking Johnny, of course. Where is he? Didn't even think about him. So yeah, I like the way that ended a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's again on top of everything else. That's Johnny is still a thing.
Mm-hmm. Carrying her around in that steamer trunk, man, that is rough.
He kicks it around like it's empty.
Yeah. I mean, she must weigh like 90 pounds. She is so skinny.
Yeah.
And she's tiny too. Like every guy that she stands next to looks about a foot taller than her. And I always think of dudes on shows like this as being tall, but they're not. I think the actor who plays Boyd is what, like 5'6"? He's not a tall guy.
No,
he's like my height.
He doesn't look like a tall guy either. It's not like Tom Cruise where we've just been fooled into thinking he's 6 feet tall.
Right.
He always looks kind of short.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Actually, I'm looking at the actress to see if I can find out
how tall she is.
I'm curious now because you're right. She makes everyone standing next to her look.
I put her at 5'1".
Let's see here.
5'1" and like 90 pounds.
Terry. Kathy Barron. Kathy Barron is... She's billed at 5'2" and 100 pounds.
Oh my God. So that's pretty close. I'm proud of myself. What's up? All right. Well, did I say hi to patrons already?
Show.
I did. Okay.
Our whole end game is thrown off now.
Yeah, I know. Like, this is what I did on Harry Potter the other night. It's like I totally started at the end, and then once it came time to wrap up, I was like, I don't know what the fuck to say to you people. Thanks.
Wait, no. I think doing it at the start of the episode was a good move because this has been a long-ass episode.
Right. I'm sorry. I didn't know that I had so much to say. That was not intentional. This happens sometimes. God damn, it's 2 hours long. I'm sorry, Alan. He wants to go to bed. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this shit up. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope you enjoyed my tangents and rants. If you didn't, keep that shit to yourself. If you did, let me know in a nice review.
Either way, leave us a review.
That's true. That's true. Yes, because either way it gets counted. So yeah, if you didn't like it, put it on iTunes anyway. I will mock you for your bad review. Don't get me wrong. I will read it out loud with your username and then give you the finger. But maybe you like that. Maybe you're into that, and maybe that's why you do it. So I'm not here to judge you.
And I will be the counterpoint. I'm open to constructive criticism, and so we will fix the things that you see wrong with the show, and then maybe you can raise the rating of your bad review.
Oh, you were
Carrot
serious.
Carrot stick.
Alan's the good cop. I think I've already established where I would stand were I a cop, so we won't get back into that. All right, everybody. Thank you again so much for listening, and we will see you again next week with a new episode. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off with no son. I'm fighting for my soul. God, get at you, boy. You try to go hard, fall back, I go hard. On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off with no son.
I see them long, hard times to come.
My life is ill, son, prepared to kill, son. Paradox of pain, baby, it's real, son. Lonely traveler, ain't trying to value you, but if you're feeling tough, dog, I walk up all challenges. Ain't got no family.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.